Welcome to everybody. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Today the parallel session is about sustainability, and we have 3 papers for presenting. Sorry, because now I don't have the titles. Well, is here the first research? I'm going to find parallel sessions. Okay. So the first one is Elisa Regadera with Silvia Perez-Bou.
Yes.
And Alejandra.
Silvia is arriving because it's going to present.
Okay.
Yes.
So
thank you very much.
Don't worry. Do you prefer that another start, or do you prefer to wait? We can wait in for her.
She's connecting now. I see her. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay, nice. Sorry.
Hi, Silvia.
Don't worry, Silvia. It's just 1 minute. 1 minute. It's not a problem. So, well, if you want to start, because your paper is 3 people or 4?
2 people. Yes.
2 people.
Okay.
Silvia is going to present.
Okay, nice.
To share the presentation.
I'm going to share my screen.
Yes.
Sorry, so do you know the rules? Like it's 15 minutes for talking the presentation and another 15 minutes for questions. So that's like the time for our presentations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here.
Okay. Good afternoon. We are Silvia Perez-Bou and myself, Elisa Regadera, and we are from Spain, University of Navarra and International University of Catalonia. First of all, we would like to thank the conference organizers for this Congress in spite of the current circumstances and for giving us the opportunity to talk today. The title of our presentation is Textile Design as a Critical Leverage to Achieve a more sustainable fashion. And now my colleague Silvia will tell you more about it. At the end, how Paula has said, we can comment on doubts or questions that arise about our presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. So, well, first of all, today I think we are all day talking about sustainability. We can say it's one of the most repeated words in the fashion industry, being the core of many textile and fashion events. Sorry, I have problems with my fashion events like the Copenhagen Fashion Summit that we held 2 weeks ago, Textile Exchange, Revolution, Premier Vision. There are many firsts talking about sustainability. And it is at the core of the fashion industry agenda in 2020. 1 year after the Fashion Pact of 2019, that this morning Geraldine Vallejo talked about, and after the Fashion Industry Charter for Climate Action, the most important brands, retailers, and organizations in fashion are joining forces to collaborate to reduce the negative perceived impact of the fashion industry as a whole. And we can say that the textile industry is an important part of this value chain of the fashion industry. We can say that it's a sophisticated business, but sometimes with a fragmented and low-tech production system. You can see here in the process of dyeing in a company. So it's not exactly technological, as we can say. Its tradition roots 200 years, more or less, but sometimes innovation processes have been addressed only in the recent years. No, we have passed from this kind of printing to this 3D printing. So it's nothing to not 3D printing, but well. So we can say that 80% of products' environmental impact is precised in design phase. So we need to think about this question. The textile design is at the beginning of the process, and most of the environmental impact roots there. So the question of study is double. How design departments of textiles companies can contribute to a more sustainable fashion, and two, how can they directly interact with fashion consumers? It's true that some big retailers and brands are working to meet the requirements that transparency claims of society imposes. One of these steps is the disclosure of the information regarding the suppliers throughout the whole value chain. We have some groups like Kering or Stella McCartney or Patagonia, H&M. Many brands are now communicating who are their providers, but it's not always like that. If we have asked consumers, and 88% would like to know more about the textile providers of the garments, and 61% don't remember any brand explaining something about textile processes. We would say after. Well, in this research, we have studied 11 companies, and we have surveyed fashion consumers. The requirements have been well, to ask Spanish and one Portuguese company, and at the same time 5 companies in Bangladesh and India, in order to discover if the commitments, the worries are the same, they have the same goals or not. And this is more or less in big numbers the size of our sample. We can say that we have selected these companies attending to different classification, the national classification of economic activities and sales revenue and relevance in Spain. We have number 1, for instance, in the classification of weaving of textiles, but we have 2, number 937 in position wholesale of clothing and footwear, who is led by Zara and all the group of Inditex. So we have different sizes and different kinds of companies, from knitting to holding companies. Okay, the same in Bangladesh and India companies. We have companies that only dye, only others that are vertical. So we have a very small size, but well, the results, I think they are relevant. We have sent 2,400, more than 400 surveys to fashion consumers in Iberian Peninsula and in Bangladesh. So more or less, the situation is the same for consumers and for brands. Not brands, for the textile company.
Yes, this is a exploratory study, right? No, Silvia?
Yes. We are taking this research now, so these are the partial results, and we are going to go deep after, because we think here we have an interesting topic to study more deeply. But it was only to say what is happening now in this sector. The methodology has been regarding to textile companies, to ask them with some questionnaires to analyze their websites and their social media. And with the consumers, we have only sent the surveys. Results. 100% of the companies surveyed say that sustainability is a strategic objective. This is the same in Spanish, Portuguese, Indian, and Bangladeshi companies, so the same. If we see which is the percentage of the total production designed completely by the companies, we have significant differences. In Iberian and in Iberian companies, Spanish and Portuguese, they design almost 100%. So these textile departments, these design departments of textile companies have a great potential to change the market because they are who lead the situation. It's not the same in Bangladesh and India because they are designing only what customers order. So they don't have the decision power. Only one company of those that we asked said they design 100%, but only 10 is not so much. And there are big companies. Well, other question is that design department is not the one that make the most important decisions. They always work with many other departments. So knowledge sharing is very important. To understand sustainability principles is not a goal only from design, but a vision of the company. So it's important to be aligned, all of them. Some of the brands to whom our company surveyed are selling are these, as you can see, big companies, some of them related or in the Spanish area, but other more, all of them are international, but not only based on Spain. No? If we attend the priorities and real decision-making power of the design department, we have significant differences between Iberian Peninsula companies and Bangladeshi. Here, they are committed to reduction of water, energy, substances, hazardous substances, and committed to technological innovation. The same question put to the Bangladeshi and Indian companies has significant different results. To say, they have other preoccupations, other worries. If we see certifications, more or less are the same. This is probably because brands asked for these certifications. So only related to recycle 100% climate standard, that is not working that is not working in Bangladesh and India, but the others are more or less the same. If we go to the consumer results, in the side of consumers, although the size of Bengali sample is small because we collected 373 answers from Spanish people and only 33 more or less from Bengali people. The opinions are very similar to those of Europe. The biggest concern are human rights and working condition of the workers. Even one of the companies said that brands are not interested in knowing about that. Say they don't want to say, they want to know what is happening there with workers. It was only one company, one textile company who said that. I think it's not the normal thing because human rights are very important. But well, consumers would like to know more about the work condition of the producers. There are also other questions like water consumption, geographical origin of raw materials, emissions, country where the fabric has been produced, name of the textile company. If we ask consumers about which things they would be able to pass up in case they were dangerous or polluting, the majority says plastic. We don't need plastic. And in the second position, we don't need leather. I think maybe in this case, leather is like in a kind of negative opinion on many people. And it's not exactly true because leather more and more is being developed in a good environmental processes. But well, this is the common opinion. First plastics, then leather. And okay, when we ask if they remember any fashion brand that has explained something related to the process of textile production, they remember these brands. And these have some members, and others say these other brands, but only one or two persons have remembered it. And arriving the finish, which are the communicative tools that these brands use for sharing this information? Social media, labels, and website, more or less in the same proportion. So we have here many channels to connect consumers, final consumers, with textile companies. Are the textile companies connected to the final consumer? The answer is not yet. Through the analysis of their websites, we think that they express their commitment at some point to sustainability. They don't say too much about design department. They name some of the brands they work for. It depends on the companies. Some companies name all the clients, others not. And some say the certification they have in their portfolio. Through the analysis of their social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, some don't have social media or they are not updated. Some have increased their followers with information related to COVID, mask, and donation. This is very important. I think this has been a good opportunity for textile companies to connect to final consumers, because a lot of them have reinvented themselves and they have supported many good actions to help in the pandemic with new textile fabrics, new masks, donations for the hospitals, doctors, nurses. Well, the biggest in terms of followers in Instagram has 6,000 more or less, and the second position is 1,000, and it's completely different from the brands they work for. And the partial conclusions of this study, this exploratory study, is that design departments of textile companies can freely choose their designs and materials, so they can lead the change towards a more sustainable production. They have the power, or some kind of power. In Bangladeshi companies, it's not the same. They are more constrained by brands' preferences. For instance, some years ago, a colleague told me that they are asked to do broken jeans. They don't understand, but they do these broken jeans. So brands lead in these countries. In both cases, brands are more and more demanding sustainability issues. The priorities in terms of materials and suppliers and production processes are quite different in Iberian Peninsula and Indian and Bangladeshi textile companies. Consumers would be interested in connect with textile companies. Textile companies don't have currently well-organized channels to connect with their final consumers. Pandemic has proved to be a good opportunity to make them more visible. And a better exploitation of the social media should be a good opportunity to connect consumers and textile companies. And thank you. This is all.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Lisa and Silvia. Maybe one of the participants that are here, you want to ask something? For me, it's very interesting because it's very connected with my research about the gap between companies and consumers. And I have one question. When you talk about the companies in Bangladesh, are you talking about brands or like factories?
Factories. We're talking about textile companies. There are different in size, like in Spain. One is the biggest factory in jeans, in denim. Other is only, it's only a dyeing company. They only dye.
Yes.
Other is more connected to the production of cotton and all the, well, so there are different, but always textile companies. They don't manufacture.
Yes.
In Spain too.
In Spain too. Okay. Okay. Now like I connect. Here we have a question. Álvaro Sanz.
Okay.
Well, Álvaro, if you want to ask directly, or maybe I can do. What do you prefer?
Okay. Alvaro asked, do you think that textile companies in Spain could be more active in social media? And this should be, well, I think one of the best examples in social media in Spain in these textile companies has been Textil Santanderina these past months with the campaign they did with the masks and other technical fabrics for this pandemic. How to be more active, I think, if they had in mind to connect with the final consumers, to interact with them, maybe through education, like short videos of the processing of the fabrics or characteristics, something like that, or asking the brands to be more visible in their, I don't know, but I think brands have many followers, and textile companies who are at the core of the process of sustainability could have more relevance in the society. I don't know, Alvaro, if it's...
Perhaps with some alliance between textiles and brands, some type of alliance to transparency.
Yes, is one that's one of the things that the sustainability chief in Kerry said, like in this morning, that like the two trends that accelerate that COVID has accelerated is the first, the transparency that the consumers wants to know, what we want to more know, and then the collaboration. So yeah, maybe the collaborations between the brands and the fabrics could be interesting.
I think here the disclosure of the providers of the supply chain, many brands are doing so, and I think it's a good path in well, it's important, like in other questions, like the fashion pact, to collaborate, not to be like competitors, even with the providers. So, well.
Thanks, Alvaro.
Any other question?
May I ask you a question?
Of course.
Maybe I activate the video. Okay.
Yes.
So
Hello.
thanks for the presentation. It was very interesting. I'd like to know more about the first part. When you mention the brands such as Armani, H&M, for example, these two brands are very, we can say that are opposite because the target is different, so the quality of the product is different. And I'm questioning, what is the relationship between the factories in fabric system and this, we can say, these two different categories of brand, because I suppose that also there is a different approach from a factory to H&M to Armani. So I want to know if it's consistent, this difference, or not.
Okay. Well, I would say that we cannot imagine that the same companies are working for different brands. So in the same textile factory or the same manufacturer, one manufacturer or one textile company is working for Armani and working at the same time for H&M. They have a very big portfolio. Well, there are textile companies. One of the textile companies we have surveyed is more dedicated, is more focused on luxury. Only one. The others have a big portfolio of products. And well, sometimes the machines are the same. The difference lies in the raw materials, in the quality of the raw materials. and sometimes in the processes of design, the processes of well, of the textile production, the quality of the fabric. But well, the textile companies work indifferently for different brands. So that they can.
Do you think that it's possible to like establish as a productive system that could work for both these two levels? I mean,
yeah.
Let's say one factory that it's able to satisfy the need from H&M and from Armani.
Yeah, because the reality is that they are doing so. So say they are working for luxury and for fast fashion brands sometimes
at the same time.
At the same time. So well, they are doing same. This is why. Well, there are other questions there. Not the question, but other topics to say. Why don't different brands are joining forces to improve the technology systems or the or invest on energy solutions? So because textile companies sometimes they need to make big investments in order to change their machines, to change their processes, and who's going to pay for these investments? Not brands, not governments, only factories. But factories at the same time, they are being asked for meet these new regulations, new commitments. So, well, I think there is a very important question that Javier Chercoles, one professor, always said that it's a question of co-responsibility between different brands, luxury and fast fashion, because different stakeholders, governments, but even from different providers, because we need investment to reduce energy, we improve performance, but the textile companies by themselves, they cannot invest.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you to your question.
Are there more questions for Elisa and Silvia? Well, if not, we can talk later, no? More.
Okay.
The others.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to present myself. I'm Paula Gárgoles. I'm researching in the same fashion business school. And I want to show you my research about, well, I'm going to share the screen so you can see well, my presentation. Do you see the presentation?
Yes. Paula.
Yes. Okay. So because now I'm not looking. Okay. So the research about the impact of sustainability on the reputation corporate in the fashion brands, and I study in the case of Spanish fashion brands. So this is like the index of the presentation, the context about the fashion industry in Spain, literature review, the research model, and then the results with conclusions and then your questions. So, well, when the people who comment me, the abstract tell me, like suggest me to talk more about the context of the fashion industry in Spain. So I'm going to put like you in context with some numbers. So the fashion industry represents the 2.9 of the GDP of the country. The business volume, it was like 2 years ago, more than 17 million euros. The fashion is the fourth industry that exports the most in Spain with 8.4%. And Spain in Europe is the fourth country exporting, behind France, Italy, and Germany. So you can see that it's a big industry with a, well, that is a strong industry in the country. here you can see like the what is like infography about the 10 or 11 most important groups, fashion groups in Spain. Here there is not the brands, because the brands, for example, is like Zara or Massimo Dutti. Here we have the groups. So the first and the huge in Spain is Inditex, with more than 26,000 million euros. So you can see that it's like the proportion is not like, it's very far from the second one, that is Mango with 2,000 million euro. The third one is Tendam. Maybe for you is new, Tendam, because they changed the name. Before it was Cortefiel Group. For the name, maybe you don't know, but maybe you know the brand like Woman's Secret, Springfield, or yes, Cortefiel also. Desigual is the fourth, Pepe Jeans is the fifth. Well, you can see that the numbers, no, of the income of these companies. And what's like the most representative, like when we think about the fashion in Spain, like the key word is fast fashion. So here in a chapter of a book of the dean of ISEN, Teresa Sadaba, and another professor, they explained that Spain represents fast fashion, adaptation to the market, flexibility, the reflection of the latest trends, compared to values such as timeless or strong innovation, which are very strong in our neighboring countries, like for example in France or in Italy. On the other hand, Spanish fashion represents the accessible versus the exclusive or selective, so characteristic of the world of luxury. So you can see that we don't have strong luxury brands like in France or in Italy, but we are the leaders in fast fashion. So when we talk about corporate reputation, we can see like what is the definition of the reputation. No? That is like the classic definition is the perceptual representation of a company's past actions and the future prospect that describe the firm's appeal to all of its key constituents, like the stakeholders. No, like who is the like for the main stakeholders for every brand or every corporate. When we talk about sustainability, well, today we hear a lot about sustainability and also yesterday, but in the fashion industry it's a huge challenge in every dimension, environmental, social, and economic. Otherwise, this industry is highly fragmented with many actors involved. With the last presentation, with the last research, we can see that the brands, for example, they don't produce the garments, so everything is outsourcing. So they're like the design department, but then another is the fabric. So it's very fragmented. The production is global and requires one of the most complex global production networks and supply chains, as we can see. We could see before. It is well known that the fashion industry is the second most polluting industry in the world after the oil industry, and it's one of the industries that has received the greatest degree of public attention. It's true that when we have in the fashion industry, when there is a crisis, it's a huge crisis also in the public. In the social media, in the media, so it's very well known, all the crises. Sustainability is one of the most important external drivers for reputation at companies. In fact, sustainability in business can help to enhance corporate and brand reputation. When we think about corporate reputation and sustainability, all the research is that the sustainability is one of the most important drivers. And when we talk about the fashion industry, academics highlight that the fact that nowadays, today, sustainability is strongly driven by the risk of damage to corporate image. When we study all the crisis in communication in the fashion industry. Most of them, like the 80%, is about sustainability. So it's a very sensitive issue. So my question when I did this research is if the sustainability has a positive impact in the corporate reputation, if the corporate reputation has a positive impact on trust and also in loyalty. And this like very minimal model, it was a study, no, in the fashion industry in Spain with the Spanish fashion brands. So here's the questions, like all the items for the survey. I'm not going to read now because then we are going to see every item with the results. So maybe it's more interesting for everyone. But you can see here like the source, no, of every item. The methodology that we used, it was PLS. With the software Smart PLS. It's a statistic program that is perfect for measure the impact of one construct on another, and also this methodology doesn't need a lot, like a huge sample. So our sample is 500 online surveys. The profile of the sample is Spanish consumers, and the questions are about Spanish fashion brands. So like these 500 people were asked about 10 Spanish fashion brands. Now it's anonymous, the name of the brands, but you can see like the sector because the fashion industry is very big and it's very different. So between these 10 brands, we can find 2 fast fashion companies, 3 men's brands, 2 women brands, 1 kids brand, 1 premium jewelry brand, and 1 sustainable brand. So we try to put like in representative like the ecosystem of the Spanish fashion brands. It's not easy because well, the fashion industry in Spain is not very like proportionate, because we have just 4 companies that have more than 1,000 million of income, and the other, like the 80% of the other companies are small and medium companies. So here we have the results of the survey. So we can see that when we ask about like this brand is socially responsible company, has a negative result. The second one has like more and more negative result. Is concerned, this company, this brand is concerned to improve the well-being of society. So has a very negative result. And the other, this brand behaves responsibly regarding the environment. So it's that result, like that question where has a positive result. When we ask about reputation, reputation has the most important results, like the most big results. So we can see that like the fashion, like the Spanish fashion brands are like have a very good reputation. So for example, the questions are: this brand is trustworthy, this brand is reputable, this brand makes honest claim. So all has very good position. When we asked about trust, also has a very good results with very positive. So I trust this brand is safe, this is an honest brand, I rely on this brand. So also like the Spanish fashion brand have like our trust, no? The consumers perceive as trust brands. And when we ask about loyalty, also there is a positive results. I will buy this brand the next time I buy this product. I intend to keep purchasing this brand, and I am commitment to this brand. This question are like the lowest on loyalty, but it's true that to be like the consumers perceive you as that the consumers are commitment with you, that is very complex and very difficult, so it has sense that like the results are lower. So here you can see like the three hypotheses that we present at the beginning, the results. So the first one, like if sustainability has a positive impact on reputation in the Spanish fashion brands, is a non-supported hypothesis, because they don't have like it's non-significant, no, the results. The second one, reputation has a positive impact on trust, yes, is the biggest one, and the other, trust has a positive impact on loyalty, yes, is a supported hypothesis. So with these results, well, some of the conclusions that we realized that is like the perception of consumers of Spanish fashion brands is that the Spanish fashion brands are not socially responsible or concerned with improving the well-being of society. And why? So maybe because they don't communicate all the actions that they are doing, or maybe because they are not doing, we don't know. So the research shows that the implications on the social dimension and the positive impact on the society should be at the forefront of the company identity. Because if the companies, they don't have in the DNA of, in the identity, like to be sustainable, is very difficult to communicate it. In addition, this should subsequently be communicated into consumers. So the best way in which consumers can perceive the value of sustainability of a company is through direct communication of the company's actions in this matter. We have like a similar conclusions with the other, no, with Sylvia and I sorry, I don't now I don't, well, with the last, no, the last presentation. So like the importance of the direct communication, because if not, it's very difficult that the consumers perceive you as the sustainability of your company. And now, well, we are now in the middle of a pandemic, so the consumer demands brands that have a purpose, that they generate a positive impact on society through the exercise of their commercial activity. The coronavirus has made us aware of the social dimension, and fashion brands also have a role to collaborate and generate a positive impact on society. So thank you very much. Yeah. This is my research, and it's true that with the coronavirus crisis, a lot of brands, they did a lot of actions about, for example, giving a lot of masks and sanitary things for the hospitals, also for many of them for hospitals. But my question is, the consumers perceive the consumers, is very difficult to perceive, no, the sustainability of the brands if they don't communicate it. But for communicating the sustainability, they need to be like, they need to have the sustainability in their identity. So yes, I think that, yes, I finished my presentation. If you have any questions, I would like to reply you.
Yes, if I can say something about, if I can ask you something about this last part about the communication, because during your presentation I was wondering, okay, but what is the way to communicate this this concept of sustainability and so on, because since now we are in a pandemic emergency, no, it's more difficult to reach the customer, the consumer, and so on, and also it could be more complicated to create a narration behind the sustainability of a brand. So I'm asking, what would be the solution in this communication? Could be, do you think that could be a digital communication, a physical communication, or both?
Yes.
What would be the tool to narrate and to build this concept of sustainability?
Yes, now we are living all in a like a omni-channel, and all the brands are like working on omni-channel. So my reply is in both, in physical, for example, with the labels, you can communicate a lot, in the stores. Yes, so first physical, of course, but then the social media, like in digital, in your website, in the social media. So try to put the sustainability in the core of your business, because I think that is the point, because now it's like the sustainability is very trendy. So everyone, we are sustainable, and all of us, we are green, but this is greenwashing. And for example, when I see in a fast fashion company, like for example, like a campaign about sustainability, or like a collection of sustainability, okay, but the real sustainability is not a collection. It's like, it should be in the core of the business, of the strategy. So you need to communicate in every action that you do. And I think that's a way that the consumers perceive you as sustainable.
Because
you are working. Sorry.
So also in this, it's need to be a sense of trust, because if I recognize the brand as, for example, any fast fashion brands, I don't recognize a kind of trust in this sense, because the sustainability is not part of the company.
Yes, I agree with you. I don't trust because the business model is not sustainable. So it's impossible like to be sustainable if your business is about volume and volume and volume and buy and through, and so it's not sustainable. But it's true that the fast fashion are like huge companies, and maybe the impact that like the 2% of Inditex is huge, and is like a very impact in the fashion industry, maybe that more than 2,000 small brands. So we can like to be in balance, and if they do like steps between steps in forward sustainability, I am like, it's a very good news, but I don't feel that they are sustainable.
Thank you.
Yes, here there is one question. My question: we all know about the success of Inditex adapting with the COVID crisis. Do you think it is linked with sustainability for you? What has been the main reason for this success? Well, I think that the success of Inditex during the pandemic, the crisis of COVID-19, it was like, we can see through the news that for Inditex, their workers are important. And for example, they don't quit any employment. So all the workers are still working with the same salary, and so we can see that in this case, for example, Inditex has the social dimension of the company very strong. And for example, the sense of belonging of Inditex is incredible. I have a lot of colleagues or friends that they are working in Inditex, in the headquarters of Inditex in Galicia, and the sense of belonging is very, very big. So you can see that, well, a company that protect and also protect their workers is always a very good news for sustainability, because it's one of the dimensions, the social dimension. So I think that in that sense, and also all the donations, that that in that case, the Spanish people, we could see that for it, like Inditex tried to do like to help to the society. So that's like also in the social dimension. And thank you, Lucia, for everything. And okay, Elisa, what do you think about Mango communication about sustainability? Very interesting. Well, if you want that I'm honest, I'm going to be super honest with you. Well, I talked before about, for example, Mango has a collection, no? Commitment collection with organic cotton and recycled cotton. So for me, that's not sustainability that like just recycled cotton, because where do you produce this cotton? Who produce this cotton, like these jeans? So it's true that the audience, like the public, that like the society, many times understand sustainability just in the environmental dimension, but it's not enough. So for me, it's not enough to have a jeans with organic cotton or recycled cotton. So I think that, well, maybe it's a little bit of greenwashing. Yes. Sorry, maybe they are very committed, but I don't believe it. So here we have a link. Maybe, well, I don't know if you work for Mango. I can't open the link. Maybe Lisa, if you ask me, like if you tell me about this link. The suppliers list.
Yes, they have just published the supplier list. And
very good. It's a good news, because it's like the next step, you know, it's like the transparency about the suppliers.
Yes.
But if I'm honest, the business model of Mango is not sustainable because it's just volume with like a lower prices. So it's very difficult. It's very challenging, because they need to like, I think that to rethink all the business model. For example, H&M are thinking like, and in another business model, in the sense that they are promoting another brands like COS and other stories. Because the fast fashion, as we know, like H&M, Mango, Primark, it's like the business model is not sustainable. Yes.
Thanks, Paula.
A pleasure. So, okay, maybe, well, if there are not more questions, we can go to the next research. So here I have so it's about sustainable fashion paradigms, local and makers productive models. So the researchers are Gianni Denaro and Antonella Petreca.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Thank you. So I start to share my screen. Okay. Can you see it? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, hello everyone. Actually, I'm alone today because my colleague wasn't possible to be here. So, a few words about myself. I'm a PhD candidate from Sapienza University of Rome, the Planning, Design, and Technological department. And this is a part of my PhD thesis. This part is related to the most sustainable productive model. The main scenario of this research is what we are living in. It's the fourth industrial revolution. As you know, first industrial revolution It's something that always and always is growing up in society. Thanks to the presence of digital technologies, not only in the from the social aspect, but most in the productive system. This technology allows us to rethink the classical business model and the classical productive system. In fact, as Klaus Schwab said about this new revolution, we need to disrupt the classical system and to build another system that can arise from these new technologies, not only in terms of social innovation, but also in terms of production, consumption, transportation, and also the delivery system. So there is a necessity to rebuild the whole productive system, as was explained by an Italian historian of design, Renato De Fusco. Design, it's related to production, to consumption, to transportation, and to delivery. This in this research, the focus is about two kind of system that are the more valuable in terms of sustainability, which are the local one and the makers one. From the local point of view, we can say that the local business model, it's obviously the opposite of globalization, because the main core of the local business model, it's the relationship with the territory, what it means that the cultural value of the territory are expressed in the fashion product. We can say, for example, the classical Napolitan men suits, that is very related to the territory. It's very related to the particular culture, which is different, for example, from the Spanish one or the German one. So this is we can say that is sustainable because it's related to a specific territory, to a specific limited geographic area, in terms of culture, as I said, but also in terms of production, because it's more similar to the model that was developed during the first industrial revolution, in which the factory it's located nearby the main material supply chain. So this is, we can say that it's sustainable from an environmental point of view, because in this territory you have all the sources in the area, and it is sustainable because it's answering the wants, the needs, and the culture of its own community. So it's developed in that area at the beginning of any we can say local business was born in that specific area because it tends to satisfy the needs of that specific community. Nowadays, thanks to the digital technologies, we can also transfer this local business in a more global one, but it's always related with the specific local geographical territory. And in this sense, the local productive system is sustainable, not only from an environmental point of view, but also from the social point of view and the economical point of view. Social because, as we said, it tends to satisfy the needs of a specific social category and social target. And it's sustainable also in the sense of the communication of the product, because it's mostly based on fair trade, which is located not only obviously in the specific geographic area, but in Italy and all around the world, through the social communication, through the social presence in networks, and so on. And it's sustainable from an economical point of view because thanks to this very specific focus on the local aspect, it's able to grow or to have an economical local growth. Because in Italy, this is very fundamental because in the fashion system, most of the revenue from the national appeal, it's related to the to very small enterprises in this local system. And of course, it's also sustainable from an environmental point of view, because as we said, since it's the supply chain is located in a specific and more geographic area, we can in this way reduce the waste and pollution. So we say that this is one of the most effective sustainable model because it's answering these three levels of sustainability. On the opposite side, we can say that this local business model, it's not just local or global, but we can say that it's G-local, because thanks to the slow fashion movement, we can spread out this concept of local territory, local culture, and so on. We can say we can spread out the concept of localism, functionality, equity, authenticities, and exclusivity. Because as you know, the concept of made in Italy, it's very well known all over the world. And we mostly related to the fashion system. When we talk about Italian fashion system, we always look at the exclusivity of the product that we produce and that we sell in the fashion market. The other what we said, it's a new sustainable model. We can say that it's related to the maker movement. In this sense, the maker, it's not related to the tailor, but it's related to the maker movement that was born more than 10 years ago in America. And the maker, it's the person, the people that use the digital manufacturing technologies to produce by their own, or thanks to the open source system and category, to design a product. In this sense, we can say that nowadays it's always more present in the concept of the fashion system. So we can say that from the ancient regime to nowadays, we can say that there was an evolution in the figure related to the fashion system. So we can say that we have started with the couturier in France during the ancient regime, and then thanks to the first industrial revolution, to the innovation in terms of technologies, and mostly in this phase related to the machine for textile, we can say that we have a switch from the couturier to the craftsman, which is related to this new productive system that can allow us to have standard pattern and specific sizes. This figure was modeled also during the second industrial revolution, when firstly came out the first sewing machine. So we can say that the model is changed, and this model was related more with the Taylor model and the Ford model, in which in the fashion system we have specific technicians that were held a specific phase of the process, in which we'll have a massive production in terms of fashion, And this, with the third industrial revolution, this massive production has been translated in the ready-to-wear, because thanks to the innovation in electronic and IT, the specialized technician requires to have a figure able to construct the collection. So we will have the classical fashion design, in which we have standard sizes, a kind of massive production, but with an high fashion design. Nowadays, we can say that that this designer, it also can be a kind of maker that using the digital technologies can produce customized design and flexible sizes, which is very important from the fashion point of view, because fashion, it's Italian fashion, it's very related to desire, to the exclusivity, as we said before, and the digital technology can allow us to satisfy this desire of exclusivity. So we can say that thanks allowing this desire, we can say that that we are able to maintain a good level of exclusivity, but we can reduce the waste and the pollution. So it's sustainable from the environmental point of view, because you don't need to have a stock in terms of fabric, but you can produce your fabric. You can also have access to that fabric, the material from a stock list of other designer and other maker, because the maker sustainable productive model, it's based from an open source and a co-design system. What it means that you are in an open system that in which you can collaborate with other makers, in which you can improve the product from another maker, and it's also, this allows also the process of co-design, which is very sustainable from a social point of view, because you allowing other makers or other designers to be part of the process. So if, for example, I have a skill in sewing and another designer from Spain has a skill in textile, for example, we can collaborate to design the product. And this doesn't mean that I have to go in Spain to produce my my product, but we can do it remotely. And this is it's always and always more present since now we are in a COVID emergency and we are not able to travel. In fact, we are holding this conference by remote and so on. And we can say that this is model nowadays is sustainable from also the same three level of sustainability: social, economical, and environmental. And economical because, as I said before, taking the example of before, we are improving the economical system of Italy and of Spain thanks to this collaborative system. So we can say that these two are the main sustainable productive model, and also are more flexible. So we can adapt this model according to our needs, to our what we need to satisfy, because we can satisfy we need to satisfy always the customer needs. So we can say that both of these are customer centered, because at the center of the problem, in this case, since it's related to the satisfaction of design or of specific customer, we can say that the problem is to how to satisfy, how to transfer this exclusivity, this sense of exclusivity in the fashion product. And we can go from this problem solving model to make market test, verify if the customer is satisfied with this. So we need to verify the idea, so verify the model, verify the product. And in order to make this resolvable, we need to always be very fast in the communication, very fast in the production. And this is related mostly to the maker, for example, to the maker system. And we learn always and always something new, and we can improve, or we can always and always improve what we have designed, what we have produced, always taking in mind that the customer is at the center of the sustainable model. So this is not just about the sustainability in terms of production for the factories, but it's sustainable from the customer point of view, because we easily satisfy the specific need. Thank you. So I think that your microphone is off because I can. No, I think I have a problem with maybe I'll stop sharing. No, I can. No, I don't. Oh my goodness, no,
We can't hear, Paula. We can hear you.
Okay, so it's not my problem.
With Paula, okay. Microphone.
No, we can, I mean, I can listen to you.
No sound from Paula.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it was the headphones. Thank you for the help desk. I don't know your name. So Janet, you have a question from Lucia. Yeah. So thank you very much for your presentation. It has been most interesting. I have enjoyed your starting point considering the fourth revolution from the World Economic Forum. There is also an important report from the World Economic Forum about reskilling revolution. My question is, how do you think the revolution is affecting the workers in fashion in terms of skills? And is this also changing?
Yeah, it's very, this is a very challenging question because of course this revolution is affecting the skill of the we can say of the technician, because as you know the productive system in fashion design, it's one of the most complicated, because you require a lot of skills and you require a lot of technician from the style office, in which we have fashion designer, in which we have artist expert, consultant, expert from marketing, and so on. And I think that this revolution is affecting all the steps of the production, from the style office to the sewing process, because if we can apply properly the digital technologies, we need to change and we need to improve the skills of the worker. Because, for example, if you think about, for example, the classical fashion designer, was used to drawn by hand and so on. And in a fashion system, when you have to realize realize a product, you need before of the production to produce the final piece, you need to prototype. And this requires a lot of time because you need a pattern maker, you need a tailor, you need the machine to cut and so on. Nowadays, for example, there are software, for example, Vizu, which is a software that allows you to scan your fabric, to use a 3D software, and you can use the software to build the 3D and to apply the real fabric in the 3D model. So you don't need, for example, to produce the prototype. So you don't require waste of time, waste of money, and so on. But this needs to be applied in the process when the workers are ready to absorb this kind of skills, because these skills are quite new. And this doesn't mean that we don't have any more pattern makers. No, the pattern makers need to improve their own skill. They cannot think to design a pattern just using paper and so on. So for me, it's obviously challenging because it's different to draw by hand and to draw by a software. Is a different process. But for me, it's challenging before if you are able to switch this skill from the old one to a new one. For me, the model it's working. This is just a brief answer, but we can talk about every figure involved in the process. But I mean, we don't have much time. But what I can say is this: we need to properly insert the skill and develop skill according to the technician.
Thank you, Gianni. You have another question from Sylvia. So she says, "Thank you, brilliant. I also teach in design and architecture, and I like your presentation a lot. In local business model, we have the problem of handwork in Spain. We have talented people in fashion industry, but there are not people willing to work as dressmakers, sewing, etc. These jobs are not valued in society. Do you have any idea to relocate and attract jobs to the rural areas? Thank you.
Yeah, we can say thank you. We can say that in Italy we have the same problem, because Italy as Spain, it's very eradicated with this old and artisan way of produce. In fact, the problem is it's that it's from on one end it's about the communication, because for us are not more available just because we lack of communication. For example, we have the problem to communicate what is made in Italy. We have a lot of small and micro enterprises that work as very made in Italy model, but we are not able to communicate what is made in Italy, because we take for granted that made in Italy, it's about culture, it's about production, it's about beauty, and so on. Because for us, it's something normal. I mean, it's not so special. But we need to improve, on one end, the storytelling about what is made in Italy. So this is the main point. Starting from that, we can consider always and always more viable in society. And on the other hand, we have obviously a economical problem, because as the globalization arises, we are more fast in the communication. We are more fast in buying. We go on every big brand or small brand has a website in which we can buy, and also there are a lot of fast fashion brands that that capture the attention of people, because we say, why I need to spend a lot of money when I can go to H&M and buy the same clothes. So the problem is about, also in this case, about the storytelling. We need to learn how to communicate the values of made in Italy, of made in Spain, because made in Spain is very famous for leather, but this is an information that just people that work in the fashion system know. If you ask to someone in Italy, do you know that Spain is one of the most excellent product in leather goods? And it's a bit strange, so we need to learn how to communicate this aspect that are not related just to the shape of a cloth, but are related to the artisan aspect, to the time in construct the product, and so on. And I think that this, let's say, old professional can learn about this, can improve thanks to the digital technologies. If you think that, for example, there are a specific productive system in the artisan process, but if you can apply just the digital technologies, not to change the most valuable phases of the process. For example, the sewing part, because it's one of the most radicated in the quality of the product. But if I apply the digital technology in order to modify, to create the pattern, for example, I can obtain a more customized product. I don't waste time, I don't waste material, and you are not changing the value of the product. You are changing just a process, a phase of the process in which there is no recognition in the quality aspect of the final product. Because when you look at the product, you look at the sewing part, you look at the beautifulness of the product, you look at the material, and so on. This is very challenging, but I think that it's possible. Nowadays, there are some Italian and also French and Spanish companies that are trying to make this. I hope to be.
Okay, thanks, Gianni.
You're welcome.
Well, are there more questions for Gianni?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Gennaro.
Hi.
Yes. Congratulations to your research and your proposition. And I'd like to know about the consumer at the center of your proposition. And if you don't think that maybe the term consumer brings some opposite concept that you have on maker space and open innovation.
Yeah, thank you. I think that the things is it's just that. I think that nowadays, when we start to produce a new brand or a new business model, or to produce a new product, we need to start from the consumer. Because since this product, it's very related to the client, to the customer, we need to be more focused on that sense. Because, for example, the fashion product, it's different from the furniture product, because the furniture product stays in your houses, in your offices, in a more intimate, we can say, spaces. The difference between furniture and other kind of industrial design object is that the fashion one, it's related to your body. It's something that you always have, you always wear, you always have in your skin, in your body. And this is the only industrial product that you can wear. So it's very related to the customer. So if you think to build a new business, you need to think about this. You need to design according to the consumer tastes, to the consumer values. If we talked about sustainability and so on, because the consumer need to have always new product, new fashion product, but you need to be able to produce what the consumer and the client have. And since as I said before, this the fashion product, it's very related to desire and to the customization and personalization. The most valuable in this sense model is the local one. But the local one, it's a very slow process that requires time, and it's always very expensive. But if you can apply properly digital fabrication technologies, you can reply to this desire of exclusivity, and also to reduce the price, to reduce the waste of material, to reduce also the waste of time. And in this sense, the fashion product can be accessible to everyone. For example, in Italy, we have this new brand that is called Velasca, about men's shoes, and the business started in this consideration. We don't have in Italy high manufacturers shoes at the good price. So there is they found an hole in the market. So they started to produce artisanal shoes, but using the local manufacturer, and to build a specific supply chain related to the territory of market. In this way, they can sell an high-end product, but also with the right price, and it's funded on the local and small craftsmen. This is pretty much, but I mean, we can say a lot about this and the other question, of course.
Thank you, Gennaro. I'm not sure about what will happen, but how can we change the situation? But sometimes the names and the concept that we bring with them, it's part of the problem. So we need to change some concepts. For example, this amount of products, and I don't know what will happen. For example, here we are not see anybody. It's a social digital communication without visualization. So we don't know what will happen with maybe our concept of fashion. But yes, it's a complete we need to change the concepts, and even with, maybe we have the word prosumers that it's connected with another like initiative, you know. It's not only changing products
it is to improve
and money, yeah, and it's another correlation, and it's another like in nature, it's a more how can I say, connected, and a more lateral relationship. It's not only a vertical, like
Yeah, it's no more
that we
work.
have nowadays. But thank you, and it's a very nice idea, and it's important to propose new ways, and you start to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think just last thing about this thing, I think that this COVID emergency just put fast in the process, because I think that the implementation of digital technologies in the process was starting, but with this situation in which we are forced to stay home and to work at the same time, this just gave the strength to Italian companies to apply this kind of technology and to rethink the productive process. I interview the CEO of Bizzu, this software company, and for them, for example, Italy was one of the most the lowest country in Europe in using their software. With COVID situation now, Italy it's one of the main market, because we never applied this kind of scan software in the fashion system, because Italian fashion system, it's very strange because it's very innovative, but it's very classical. It's very classical in the production. So I think we were a bit afraid of change something, because we have seen this thing as something that can take off some qualitative aspect in the process, but it's not so, because if we properly implement these technologies, we can properly reply with a good productive system, maintaining always the cultural aspect and the qualitative aspect.
Well, thank you very much. Now the time is finishing. So thank you for all the presentation, Elisa, Silvia, and Gianni. And well, I can conclude that with our presentations, we can see that the communication is key for the future of sustainability, and also like the technology is the hope of the sustainability in the fashion industry. So thank you for everyone, and have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.